right, Chuck Stetson, he's the chairman of Creating the Better Hour. What is the Better Hour? What is that about?
The Better Hour actually comes from a film that I did for public television, which was picked up by PBS Home Video. It was on William Wilberforce, the legacy of William. Was called The Better Hour, the legacy of William Wilberforce. It was about how 200 years ago, just William Wilberforce and about 10 of his friends changed all of England without a lot of money, and essentially without a lot of people, from a very self-indulgent and decadent world to a much more civilized world that eventually became Victorian England.
Ah, and part of William Wilberforce's mission was to end slavery in England.
He had two great objects. One was the abolition of the slave trade, and secondly was the reformation of manners, both of which he accomplished in his lifetime, which is rather remarkable.
How did he do that with the slave trade? I'm trying to do it in Sudan with a group on the slave trade, and it's virtually impossible.
Well, we have the new slavery. In 1807, he was able, after 20 years, to get the abolition of the slave trade. So he divided it into two parts: get rid of this trade itself, and then get rid of the institution of slavery, which was passed in July of 1833, just as he was dying. Now it's kind of come back, and it's come back in force, and it's come back in different ways, and that's clearly a thing that we need to focus on today. But freeing the slaves was a big deal in all of the British Empire, and again, it was done by 10 people, and not a lot of money. So there's great hope to really do things, and so maybe some of the efforts that you're doing in the Sudan, you can have an impact like Wilberforce.
Yeah, okay.
Why don't we look at the data, though? I'm a business guy. I make investment on behalf of our investors, institutional investors, and I don't make a move without knowing the data. The data is that since the sexual revolution of the 1970s, we've gone from 78.6% of people that were married down to 57%. That's a 30% decline. We are actually headed, and my concern is really civil society. I believe that we are headed for an earthquake. An earthquake, just as we've been seeing Haiti and the like, the structure's all crumbled. We are having marriage crumbling all around us. We are headed for another Haiti for democracy and freedom. That's my concern. And I was up with the senior venture capitalists up in Boston last September, and I said, what could crush us collectively and individually? Marriage. They were stunned. But that's true. Well, this is National Marriage Week, and one of the things we're focusing on is the church. And the church has really let us down in this area, and that's why I'm focused on it, because if you do a survey, 28% of churches have a course on marriage. It should be 100%. Churches are still aware we get married here in the United States. Over 80% of people get married in churches or houses of worship. It's less than 50% in Italy. You have to go to town hall, and that's what people typically do there. And that's why they have a 1.1 reproduction rate. They're not focusing on the purpose of marriage. We're asking the churches to do two things. We're on God Talk here. We're asking them to do marriage preparation, including dating and courtship, going down to middle school, the high school, and colleges. And we're talking about marriage enrichment. And I've even talked to some pastors who have said, marriage enrichment, what are you talking about? Do you mean marriage repair, Chuck? No, I'm talking about marriage enrichment, where you enrich. My marriage has been very much enriched by going to some of these things. So I think there's a huge area that the church gets involved. There can be a lot of stuff, good stuff going on. We're a very religious country, at least according to the U.S. Supreme Court and Justice Douglas. Why don't we recognize that? Why don't we, in fact, do something? We are we have now the taxpayer costs of divorce and unwed childbearing. We've been talking about anecdotal stuff. What does it cost us? We've had Brookings on the left, we've had Heritage on the right sign off on this thing. It costs at least $112 billion a year. Some say it's $150 to $170 billion. That is somewhere between $1 trillion and $2 trillion, the cost over a decade. It's the same cost we've been talking about in healthcare. You know, if the people knew about this, they get angry. One of the things that we're doing at the Institute for American Values as part of the Let's Strengthen Marriage campaign that we're doing this spring is focusing on divorce. We have 3 states that I can speak to, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Illinois, that have wait periods for divorce. They have divorce rates that are 1/2 the states that have no wait. If we reduce the divorce rate by 50%, we'd be talking about $61 billion savings, when budgets at the state level are in deep trouble. This is a low-hanging fruit. If you're a legislator, would you want to raise taxes, or would you like to extend the waiting period on divorces? This is low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.